It is preseason, folks. You're all excited about black and orange, but it's about time to throw some blue in that mix and get hyped. Fans got the rare experience to watch a preseason match today. When MLS clubs normally treat these like military secrets and lineups and scores are put in secure nuclear bunkers, Philadelphia and FC Cincinnati allowed us a little peek through the window to see what's going on in Florida. With Brenner and Barrial and some other Knox veterans, FCC headed out with a younger, maybe not fully filled out squad. And those players are getting extra chances in Florida as the young players brought up, and especially the ones from the academy, are eager to show their stuff in their absence. We are also eager to get back on the mic and do this again. Some of us are shaking off rust, and we also have one old but newer voice we are officially bringing back. This is a new season of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, I think. Your app still says season 1, and the episode count is way too high. But alas, see a new season 1 of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. First up, welcome back to the show, Bryan Weigel. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Yeah, you're talking about the black and orange. You know how it goes. You're just like, it's no big deal as a Packers fan over there. No, it's exciting, and we said this, 3-4 years ago, that this town was hungry for a winner, and you saw, people get super excited about FC Cincinnati, and I know that we'll be there again. And things like today just excite me, seeing the young guys performing very well, seeing some outstanding performances, yet they still might be a couple years away. But the fact that they look the part just shows all the money being spent and all the Mercy Health Training Center, that investment's paying off. And it's so refreshing to see that so quickly.
Yeah, I'm happy for the city. I can't wait to see that same excitement on the soccer side. I saw glimpses of it on the baseball side years and years ago when they made the playoffs, and I got to go to some of those games. But Major League Soccer,
humble brag.
Yeah, well, Major League Soccer, I want the Super Bowl version of Major League Soccer here, just to see feel that excitement. Never felt a winning soccer team in that way. We got a little taste of it in USL, of course. Back to the podcast. It's been a while. Our next host has been around, and you have likely read articles on the website he has put out, but you may not have heard his voice. Welcome in, Paul. How you doing?
I am living the dream, trying to stay warm and hoping that my dogs don't bark while we're on the podcast. But I'm kind of that same mentality of, normally in February we have this lull of no sports, but yet I get to wake up and listen and watch to sports coverage about Cincinnati in the month of February, and it's not about the Reds and spring training, so it's kind of weird. But overall, I'm really excited to get back to another season of FC Cincinnati, and I'm just excited to see nowhere to go but up from here.
Paul, you live in enemy territory. You live in the purple zone. I wondered if you decked out items that are public, like a vehicle, maybe. You put a bumper sticker or a magnet on your car and risk it getting keyed every day in Louisville.
Well, I actually have I have an FC Cincinnati sticker, but I originally had 3, and I'm down to 1, and I did not take them off myself. So we'll let you infer.
So happens when you get engaged, pal. My wife took mine off too. Don't worry.
Well,
yeah, you're engaged, Jeffrey.
Yeah, it's true. You're a brave man, though. Sporting the FC Cincinnati and Louisville. We appreciate you being on. We had Jason Ashcroft, which you guys may have heard in the last few episodes, set up to be your final guest. But in case you are listening outside our area, we are currently covered in ice, and power has been a problem today. So fate intervened so that Jeff could be here, because why not? He's always on this show for you, Jeff. Thanks for coming in.
Congratulations, Bengals fans. Congratulations.
It's big from a Patriots fan.
I know. Call me when you're not able to wear gloves because of all the rings you have on both hands. But congratulations. We're really pulling for, I think all of America is really pulling for you, unless you're from LA. So once you do get that win, though, the taste does not leave your mouth. You're going to love the parades. You're going to love going around in duck boats. Well, whatever the equivalency of duck boats would be down here. But, you haven't won it yet.
Man,
I'm going to come over there, Jeff. You're uninvited to my Super Bowl party.
I've had more Super Bowl parties than you could imagine.
Oh man, you gotta hate people that live through the Brady era, like Jeff. Is just so spoiled and don't even.
He didn't even congratulate. He didn't even thank us when he retired. So hey,
I'm too nice to bring up your former Revs loyalties and their successes.
Hey, well, they do have one more trophy than us.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Speaking of weather, we got the champ giving us a comment. Shoveling the driveway as I listen. Keep me entertained and drink one for me. Go FCC. I have a rule, champ, where I take I shovel half and then I stop and pop a drink. Shovel half, stop and pop a drink. So hopefully you can enjoy that too.
Have you guys tried to shovel your driveways? This stuff is heavy. No
Twice.
joke. If you're listening to the show, you probably have already been out there. But I went out there, started shoveling, and then I just was like, well, let's see what the sun does tomorrow.
Ain't gonna work.
You do realize it's gonna be 0 degrees for a low tomorrow.
Just don't let tomorrow ruin my parade. You don't need to ruin it tonight. Let's talk a little bit soccer, though. We have 2 preseason games under our belt. One we've seen, one we have not. We've got players coming in. Players, where are they? What a big mystery. But first up, segment 1.
I want to see if you read the rundown in advance here, Boston.
While we were gone, Bryan, let's catch fans up since we've been on the air. Can you give us some draft, like a real quick draft rundown?
So in advance, fans, I prepped for a not so great result today, so I filled up the rundown with quite a bit of extra feeder for you. But it's been a while since we've all graced the airways of FC Cincinnati land. It's been nice to put our feet up and not have as many leaks coming out of the front office and a bunch of random things that kind of kept us occupied last year. Even though I guess we do miss it a little bit. But some of the big moves or lack thereof. We had some great signing, or I really some good draft picks, I think, and you saw 2 of them today in the friendly. You had Roman Celentano, the Generation Adidas goalkeeper out of Indiana University. Go Hoosiers with our first pick, 2nd overall, and then we had defender Ian Murphy, center back from Duke, who I thought played very, very well in today's friendly. Of course, in the 2nd round, we had Nick Markanich, who's going to be a huge favorite of Brad and mine because he's a twin, so gotta stick together. But he didn't play today, but apparently had a very good showing in the friendly versus USF. So far, I think most people thought it was a decent draft. Maybe we could have taken a different player or 2 there, but got some players that filled roles that we needed, especially that goalkeeper.
Also signed a couple new players. Nick Haglund, some people might have heard of him.
New old players.
For Toronto.
New old players.
No, it's good to have Nick back. Cincinnati kid. Some people are wondering, hey, is this the same team as last year? When you look at these re-signings, I guess it can kind of feel like that a little bit. Harris Medunjanin also re-signed with FC Cincinnati. Old Father Time back to help guide the team. FC Cincinnati did execute a buyout of Makocho. I think CST predicted and thought that would be a wise move. We actually had that on our salary cap forecast because it was about the only smart financial move. There was a plea for Vermeer as a possibility, but what that saves you $400,000 in cap room, and Makocho saves you $1 million. So,
yes, smart move, and thankful that we have ownership that's willing to write that check.
Yeah. Then just really recently, officially mutually termination, Kyle Scott. Bit of a surprise to me. I guess that was I would imagine FC Cincinnati is still on the hook somewhat financially there.
Well, it said a mutual termination. I don't know all
But that's
the.
those usually involve some kind of pay.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not going to be as full. Like FC Cincinnati is not going to let him walk for his full contract.
I think we're plenty okay writing off $90,000 or whatever his contract was.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So I don't know if that you think that would get reported in the guide that comes out every summer of the salaries, and
I'll call Ken Hedger for you.
it'd be kind of neat just to see if that's on the books. I bet it is. I bet he's still listed as a player. Officially announced coaching staff. So that is pretty much. Does that catch us up to speed?
Yeah. Basically, just kind of. If you don't mind, I'm going to go into it here real quick. It still leaves for a lot of room, and we'll talk about how FC Cincinnati can make some moves a little bit later in the show. But as of right now, it looks like we have 17 senior roster spots. I guess you could, in theory, maybe move Alvis Powell over to one of those senior spots. So we have somewhere between 2 to 3 senior roster spots, and then some other moves, which I assume will be some of those players that you saw in today's match. But overall, Cincinnati is a far from complete roster. You could still see some moves out there, but gentlemen, do you guys have any thoughts? Do you think the roster is shaping up better, worse than you thought it would be kind of going into the season, Jeff?
I think it is something that you have to say incomplete right now. They've still got likely another DP and maybe even a TAM position that they need to fill up. And you could say that the midfielder positions are kind of threadbare, especially today.
Yep.
With Noonan, even though we re-signed him, he went down with an injury today. Don't know how serious that is, but he had to be subbed off. So it's hard to really say, how complete you feel this team is. I feel they're stacked in the defenders position. I think they did really well on the sides. But you need to have somebody in the middle, and I just don't know how positive I feel without a defensive midfielder.
Paul,
Paul, do you ever get an I incomplete on your report card growing up? I did. You left my parents very confused. If you could grade FC Cincinnati if you could grade FC Cincinnati right now, where would you put him at? Yeah.
Who's that question to?
Sorry, Paul.
I would probably say I go like C-, but it's kind of one of those things of you get your report card back and it's like, yes, you got this grade, but you're making progress. You're making improvements. So, It's like we're used to the worst of the worst grades, barely passing, not even passing. So it's like C-, if you take that as a one-off, you're like, not very great. But with the buyouts we've made, the moves that we've made, re-signing people, but signing them maybe for a little bit less, trying to get those green cards so we can free up international slots. I think it's important to keep realistic expectations going into this season, and also realize kind of the place of where we are in terms of getting those big names. We want to be successful, but also we need to do it in a way that is financially responsible, that sets us up well for the future, because that's where we've got ourselves in trouble the past few years, is not setting ourselves up. So while it's important to build, I think also the primary task for year one is just to kind of clean this mess up. And I think we're definitely making steady progress towards that. Maybe not as quickly as we want, but we're getting there.
Yeah. And you could sense, so I sat in on the conference call for Coach Noonan, that he was still, you could sense some frustration. I don't think he came out, nor he would ever come out and say that he's angry or things aren't developing, but he clearly said that they're not where they want to be at this moment because they're missing so many pieces, including, and I think that was more directed, that Brenner's gone and Barriel hasn't made it back yet. We have issues with Cruz, and Johnny Nelson's hurt, and Alvis and Moderator are gone. So he hasn't really got to work with his group yet. And that's why next Monday is so important, kicking off phase 3 of preseason. But you can sense that I think Coach Noonan's a little frustrated, and he's a little sick and tired of answering questions about, hey, have you heard anything? Do you expect any news coming here soon? I think he's just kind of like, it is what it is, and hopefully maybe we can get Chris Albright on the mic to answer some of those questions soon.
So let's dive into that just a second. You got to speak to him, and I know you can't put words in his mouth, but this season is coming up quick. I mean, we have an early start this year.
Yep.
We've got players not fully backed yet, and I know that's for a budget reason. You get these guys green cards, that opens up what FC Cincinnati can do exponentially. So it's worth it. But are we going to have these guys on match? Are we going to have these guys in Austin in February?
That's a great question, and I think I said this in our Slack DMs. I'm not sure if I put this in the piece or not. I would bet against Brenner, being available week 1. If some of the new guys, I mean, we're hearing rumblings that there might be an imminent signing, but we've been hearing some things like that for the past month. Things have fallen through. Absolutely, they have. But I don't think we are going to be in a really good position with the roster being very comfortable with each other till, again, like middle of the season. It stinks. Cruz, who we all have high hopes for, I think, this year in that box-to-box dual 8 role. But, I mean, he hasn't done anything yet at full speed, and we're asking a lot of these guys to come in ready to rock, get them up and going in 2 to 3 weeks. And I don't know if that's really realistic, I guess.
We put a tweet out today, which cracked me up right after Philadelphia scored in the 2nd to 3rd minute. And I think, was that you tweeting, Bryan, that said, just a heads up, we got a lot of different things we're trying right now, and younger players and players not back. I thought.
Oh yeah, I got called to the carpet by the union guys, basically saying like, just remember we are a very diminished lineup, and they're very strong. And they're like, well, we're missing 2 DPs too. I'm like, well, you have kind of like when you can run an Alejandro Bedoya as a backup. Yeah, you're sitting quite a bit better than we are.
And they've also got a ton of talent young, good talent in their academy that are coming in. They played a really strong midfield for the second half.
Yeah. So
what are they complaining about? I mean, come on.
What was that kid's name that? Yeah, shoot, I can't remember his name right now. But yeah, I mean, there's guys that, Kimi made a debut or a couple debuts, but is like a left back. Now he's actually getting the opportunities to go forward, and I think we need to bring some of these guys in. But also, I mean, you saw the young guys today. How important MLS 2 could be for us going forward and getting those guys minutes. So maybe we hope they would help us in 2024. Maybe they help us late 2022 or 2023.
We have, I think there's a lot of perspective to put in place here. If you are a 2022 FC Cincinnati fan entering the season, I think there's a lot to be excited about, especially this youth that we're playing, that we're getting MLS minutes already here in preseason, seeing what we have, stuff that we all screamed for last year, honestly, that, why are we wasting valuable time? Let's just go ahead and start this process early. That's all exciting, especially when you see some promise and you hold Philly 1-1 in a preseason. I know it's preseason, but it's still encouraging. And then I guess the flip side of that coin that all FC Cincinnati fans just need to know going into the season is that this is the second year of many of these contracts that Nijkamp signed, and you get 1 buyout, not 5 buyouts. So FC Cincinnati doesn't have the roster flexibility that I think some people would hope or want to kind of move money around fully.
Yes, but it is much better than, that buyout. And some of these key, restructurings, I think have helped give us, we're going to have a chance to sign 3 players.
Yeah.
At least 2. Could it be now? They better bring in somebody now, especially with Noonan hurt. But there's going to be chances. I think Albright is I think we're all disappointed. Maybe is that the right word, that we haven't had that big 6 in yet, or an 8. But
in case they didn't read your article on the website, what's the update?
In terms of like
on the signings, yeah.
Well, I think you would expect at least one to come in. You know, as I mentioned it, a couple minutes ago, we're hearing something's imminent, but I got nothing else besides that right now. So, again, we've been told that, but we'll see how it goes. But I would think you'd expect somebody in. It could be as early as next week. So,
I've heard an interesting theory going around. I'm going to throw this to Paul because it's been a sec since we've heard from you. FC Cincinnati. I think some people on our staff really are pushing that it's not going to be the diamond that everybody was expecting last year. Brian's giving me a weird look that he thinks it might be. But I honestly, does FC Cincinnati need to play to the roster versus playing?
That's a good question.
Like if we don't have a solid, especially in match one, if you don't have the right players yet in the lineup, do you go with the two forwards up top if Brenner's not here, or how do you roll out?
No, and I think this is always something, and I think this is actually kind of regardless of whatever sport you're playing. Whenever you get a new coach, I think for those first 2 years, it's kind of the responsibility of the coaching staff to play to your players' strengths. So if that involves you tweaking your the way you go about things to maybe allow them to play to their strengths rather than expose their weaknesses, then that's a good thing. But then hopefully as you continue to move forward and you continue to train and get used to each other, you begin to build that type of system that you're looking for, whether that's in training in the way that you prepare or whether that's how you bring in players to fit that system that you're trying to build. But that's what I've told people. That's the difference between a good coach and a great coach, or even a bad coach and a good coach, is that a good coach will utilize his players' strengths rather than trying to force them to fit it into their system that they know probably won't work.
Can we jump into the game a little bit here with that question?
Real quick though, let's just mention Swearo X, our awesome sponsor. Zero sugar, 0 calories. They are back supporting us for 2022, and it's a good reason. They have a good reason to do so. Their product is about to hit the shelves in Ohio, so keep an eye out for it at your local supermarket. Swearo X. Right now, you can head over to our website, actually on these podcast notes, and get a coupon for a discount if you want to buy it off Amazon today. All right, Bryan, take us in.
Okay, well, Jeff, did you have a thought about that? I saw you kind of head bobbing a little bit here. I thought we kind of saw two, and you agree or disagree with me? I thought we saw two distinct looks at that. And now I don't know that question. In the first half, you have that diamond, which we looked kind of poor in the first 15, 20 minutes, and then an injury, and then a young kid comes on, and you got legs, and you got pestering people, and we looked kind of okay. And then the second half, you got a Tonga and a Calvin Harris and Kimi, and God bless them, but that's where they have to fit in. I think you could probably see both. Am I wrong? But I mean, it's going to be match specific.
I think right now and I'm going back to the I grade again. Incomplete in the sense that really I think they just didn't have all the pieces for a solid diamond today, with Medunian going down with the injury, and not to mention that, but also their back line. You're missing a lot of people that are supposed to be in their right spots. That one goal that they gave up really was on unfortunately Boston, Zico Bailey not being in a spot. How dare I? But basically, Philadelphia had a cross where there was one guy streaking, and you could see Bailey, who doesn't normally play on the left, streaking behind, trying to catch his guy, and left him really one-on-one with the keeper. So I can't make a decision on this because I don't feel we have all the right spots to create a good diamond yet.
In Coach Noonan's interview yesterday, he said the young guys were going to get a lot of chances to play today. And he also said that he wanted to get as many players up into the box. And Zico and Gaddis got way up there that first half. And I think Zico actually had himself an okay game overall.
Almost scored.
But in a normal game, I don't think you would see that to that extent, maybe, especially with the personnel that we have in place. I mean, if you're asking Noonan and then those two center backs to defend in a normal MLS game, we're going to get torched. But I do like at least seeing the methodology of how we want to play. And it's not just Lucho hero ball anymore. I think that's the biggest damn takeaway from the game is we were trying things. We were trying to pull it out wide. We were trying, it was okay for Vasquez to drift into space because Kimi was still there. And imagine that with Brenner, a Vasquez or a Don Baji who's hurt right now, being able to kind of roam around a little bit, pull a defender and give some space to Brenner. I mean, holy crap. That's a game changer if you really think about it.
Do you have any takeaways? Paul, were you able to watch any of it today?
Unfortunately,
I
was only able to.
Oh, that's right. It probably was.
Yeah. I only got to see the Yuya goal. That was about the extent of what I got to see today. But no, I mean, just from the takeaway of just even seeing that goal and just the ability to, I think that was the biggest frustration watching last year is that you kind of talked about that hero ball and it ultimately didn't result on shots on net. And the song, the shot, that's the mentality that I want. At least to start, if we could just put balls on the net, typically good things happen. So I'm just excited to hopefully see something different than one player trying to do it all and just create a little bit more, have a little bit more team friendly soccer.
So is this preseason? Are we in a position that we can do a little best and worst Boston?
I can do my favorite.
Okay.
My favorite non-Zico Bailey play was that we got to see both new keepers in this game. Kenneth Vermeer was hurt, so that opened up the doors for stuff that we haven't seen. We've already seen plenty of Vermeer. We got to see Alex. Is it Kane Con play the first half, and then our brand new draft signing in the second half. And I actually thought both played fairly well. Besides the little incident at the beginning of the game, especially the second half, there was a really good save in there, and I cannot get too overzealous because of one preseason game. But that was just encouraging not to see a game blown by a keeper. So enjoyed watching two new people in those spots. That's my take. That's my favorite takeaway. Is that a best? If that's best, then that's the best.
Jeff, best to worst?
I had something else written down, but I think I'm going to change it on the fly a little bit here. I think probably the worst is that really the middle 30 minutes after the second half started, the 30 minutes basically was mud in the middle. There really wasn't much going on with both sides. It was sort of, I think, just playing to once again get fit. So for an entertainment value, if that's what you were looking for, to tune this in, it was basically white noise in the second half. But the best, I was going to say Ray Gaddis, just because it felt like we're getting some good leadership out there, that he's going up, being in the right spot and being very vocal out there. But I did like the goal itself, how, we're talking about hero ball, how Lucho would normally, or someone would normally go up into three guys, have the ball taken away from him, and then it would instantly go back up the field. In this case, when Lucho was coming down the field and got a slide tackle from the side, there was somebody there to pick up that ball. And I think that was, I can't remember who it was. That might have been Robledo.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It was really good.
He picked that one up. He made a action for a shot and drew the defense. And that's what I want to see. I want to see some smart play. He saw that he didn't have the shot, and he dealt it to Kubo, who got that goal. It's good that the hero ball has a, I guess, a remedy to it. that there was somebody there who could pick up that ball.
I think even if, again, I hate harping on the young guys because we probably won't see him a bunch, but there was a moment in the second half too where I think it was Jimenez. He kind of picked his head up. He was on the right half of the right side of the field. He kind of picked his head up and he saw Lucho, all the way on the other side of the field, wide open. And he put a ball right across the field, right to him. And of course, Lucho had a shot going on, but that ended up right at the goalkeeper. But I got a guest visitor here, boys. Can you pick this up for me for a second?
Sure. So overall, I'd say we got a lot of new looks in this match, which was encouraging. I think the match would have went differently if we had Brenner and if you had all your main guys there. I think you'd see a little bit less hero ball, but more. That's got to be your focus, right? When Brenner's back on the pitch, and there's a lot of talk about running a 2-forward set. But it's got to be, Brenner's got to eventually be working back in to be your focus. And let's talk real quick. And this is a subject I harped on a little bit last year. In Major League Soccer, your international players usually have a second-year boost. We have several that we really need to have a 2-year boost. We've got Brenner, we've got Barrial, we've got Acosta. Who's coming out of this? Jeff and Paul, with the big chip on their shoulder and showing what they got here in year 2. Who do you think's got the most potential compared to last year? Whoever wants to take this.
You can take it, Paul, if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be, it's the boring answer, but Brenner. I mean, he scored how many goals for Sao Paulo, and then he comes here and he struggled. But like you said, I think that's new. I think it's a combination of factors of just one. It's unfortunate that there's still the stigma, but they come in here thinking it's going to be, I don't want to say a cakewalk, but maybe easier than they thought, and then they realize, oh, it's not that easy. And then 2, I think just trying to find his role a little bit of like how he fits into the team. Hopefully we'll see him utilized more as a finisher. So it was really encouraging to hear, creating space. And I think if you give him the ability to create space with him and the ability to get him one-on-one, hopefully he can finish some more goals for us as well.
Yeah, the midfield, new coaching staff, an upgraded midfield would really help. And I think that's the key is we're all still waiting to see what's going to go down in that midfield for sure. Are we going to fill it with new faces? Are we going to bring in a big international player to fill the void? To me, that's the success on Brenner. If that's not the case, if the midfield stays in a flux situation and it's not going to really take part till the middle of the season, then I think a different player. I think a player like Acosta has to set up and create those chances.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about like someone who's got to have the second-year boost, I got to push Atanga and Barrial together and sort of say that the way that they played last year, I still think they got a lot of potential. I just feel that it's tough having them both on the field at the same time. You really have to have one start and one replace the starter. I felt that Stammet had played Atanga really out of position sometimes and not as a replacement for Barrial when he really needed it. So I think the two of them, if they can figure it out and sort of be one player filled by two, one role filled by 2 players, I think they can show themselves that they can bounce up in the second half. It's their second year together.
Bryan, did we get to your best and worst before you bounced out?
Oh, let me think for a second. That's a good question. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think my excitement was seeing how many guys that we were actually able to get forward. I think last year, how many times was it just a 1-2 with Brenner, and maybe you had a Matarrita in there, and then you might have had a trailing midfielder coming in. But seeing the amount of bodies that we were able to get up there, did we sustain possession a ton? I wasn't happy with that, but I think we kind of limited giving those cheap turnovers up about 15, 20 minutes into the game, which was a nice adjustment. But overall, you kind of hear it from the coaches on the sideline that there's a clear mission. And I think that, you hear that from the coaches, or sorry, not the coaches. You hear that in all the player interviews. Coach Goff talked about it on last week's Talking Tactics with Jeff Cameron, just how they're relating, and there's a different type of style, I guess you could say, for the staff. So I think you're going to see improvement there in terms of how we want to play. We just need the personnel now to really take it over the top, especially with how Major League Soccer teams have improved their rosters this year. We were one of the very few teams that went out and splashed the cash last year. Everybody did that this year.
Anthony said on Facebook, another noticeable difference in the game today was Lucho finding an FCC player on corners and not hitting the first defender. With our first team attackers in there, this game could have had more goals today.
You could say the same thing about Pulisic the past week.
I like that take, Anthony. I do think it would be. I look forward to watching. Hopefully, they show us some more preseason games. By the way, thank you, FC Cincinnati. I know that is not the norm, but it is much appreciated. I wish more teams showed preseason.
Yeah, I think I'm comfortable saying this, that Cincinnati, as an organization, there's a lot of new people, especially Albright and Noonan, but even on the staff side, that there's been I think there's a lot of change coming and a lot more accessibility that we haven't maybe had. For example, I think I don't want to spoil any news here, but I think we're going to have a very important member of the coaching staff on the show very, very soon. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And this is going to be, I think, a very good group of people to work with, and that's going to really embrace the city of Cincinnati. We just need to give them time, and we need people that want to be here, whether it's players and coaches. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of that coming out of this club.
Oh, Brian's, of course, talking about the return of Alan Koch too.
Exactly. Yes, somebody who might be in his office. Yes.
But we can't do that unless we can't do that without our trusted fans that support our show. So real quick, I wanted to give a readout of the ones that have supported us all this off season, and of course this season and last. CST is free for all. Everybody can go to our website. Everybody can download and listen to this podcast or live show and participate. So we thank the people that make that possible. Really, John Davidson, Mike Hudson, Robert Stevens, Laura Failer, Matthew Adamczyk, Buddy Taylor, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbrough, Tom Newhouse, Brian and Brad Weigel, Brian Gills, Dan Alberts, Will Kychek, Ian Rexroad, Augustus Caceres, Bill Antonitis, Carl Feit, Jeremy Schran, Kyle Pohl, Christina Sharma, Rupesh, Mike Hudson, Tom Bezeldorf, Jason, who is super average, John Haskell, Ryan Ernst, Mary Lou, Rob Pierce, Clifford Adams, Thomas Septh, Pierce Johnson, Mike Prentice, Mr. and Mrs. Wiederholt, and thanks to our brand new patron, Rob, I think it's Grisel. We appreciate your support of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, and we look forward to having a brand new season with you all.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
Well, Bryan, did you want to talk about the lineup in this match, or are you over?
I think we've kind of got to it a lot. I just think if you hadn't had the chance to watch it, I think seeing Ordonez up next to Vasquez up top, while he didn't take over the game, I think he felt, and gentlemen, correct me, I thought he looked a little bit more comfortable on the field. And comfortable working with Vasquez. I thought that was a positive to take away. And then we have an academy. I think he's a U19 player, Harrison Robledo, in that 8 role, who everybody wants to talk about, Jimenez, who played, I thought, very well. I think he got a national over the moon with how Robledo played in today's match, in that 8 role, kind of on the left side versus Kubo's right side of that diamond.
Yeah, Jimenez. I saw Tom, the the national writer gave him a big shout out. Thought he changed the game when he came on the field. I mean, that has got to be a heck of a shout out.
He played defense versus point defense. So
yeah.
I'm going to use that joke till it's dead.
Well, I mean, to be that young and you have a national writer paying attention to you, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully he gets more chances. I know you could tell how excited this kid is. He's on Twitter tweeting out like how happy he is and he's joyful for his opportunities. That kid's got a fire under him. And so it would just be cool to see it work out for him. Still not
14 years
sure.
old. 14
I know.
years old. What were you guys doing at 14, Jeff, besides rooting for the Patriots?
I think I probably had my first stitches when I was in 14. I mean,
8th grade.
That's about when Halo came out. That took away my life.
Yeah, I think might have been the age where I realized I'm never going to be an athlete.
Paul, that wasn't long ago for you.
Yeah, I was about to say when I was 14, I remember it was the last day of our middle school. We got to play soccer, but it rained the night before, so it was really, really muddy. And I scored a goal, and I slid in the mud, and I pretended like I was Clint Dempsey. So that was that was about the extent of my soccer career was scoring a goal in mud with no goalie. So that's about what I was doing when I was 14.
If SC Cincinnati was around, you could have been in Florida, like Jimenez. What a shame.
Yeah, I guess I'm really interested to see, and Coach Noonan said this yesterday in his press comments, that there's going to be a turnover in players that are in camp now that might not be in camp later, and guys who are not in camp taking over. So I'm really interested to see whose names we see Sunday or Monday, whenever that next camp list comes out, to see really who's kind of made it past phase 2. I mean, you had some roster invites, and I'll bring up the second half here. You had Feldberg that played as an 8, I guess you could say as an 8. He kind of would range forward a little bit, but you also had Evian Flanagan. So both those guys were draft picks from last year. I think they both played fine. I could see them both being maybe the MLS the MLS next team. I got to stop calling it the 2 team, but the MLS next team. And then of course you had Ben Mines there. So there's guys in that group that, could they be on the team? Could they be loaned out? Calvin Harris. I don't want to draw too much from one game. He maybe picked up a knock. He absolutely, in my opinion, didn't impress today. So very interested to see how this group kind of changes going forward. Does Calvin Harris get loaned out? To Orange County Blues, who we always send everybody out to. Where do they call themselves now? So I'm just interested to see, how this group changes with this next phase, because I think this next phase of preseason is going to show a lot more who's in that final 30 guys or maybe 25 guys that will really be impact players for this year.
So so you're saying if I want Jimenez to stay down in camp and get another round, I should start like a hashtag like keep him in. Is that a school?
Oh man, yeah, he did say, Coach Noonan did say that school is going to be a factor for some of these young guys. But Real Salt Lake just signed a 14-year-old. Who's to say? Beckham Sunderland was not on this first camp. Is he a part of the team anymore?
Who needs high school?
Well, he was going into college. Is he a member? Is he somebody that we could sign to the spot 29 or 30?
Yeah, he's an interesting one because I thought he did have a contract at one point.
Sunderland?
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yeah, I think that might have been more for we only had like one healthy goalkeeper and Bobby
he may not
Edwards.
be on the roster this second. I don't know. I really don't know.
He was on their website.
Okay. So to not be at camp and have a contract, it would be weird though. Yeah, I look forward to seeing that. Who comes, who goes. I expect some of our players getting their green cards currently will be at camp here soon, and that will take some spots away if there is limited space or limited spots on the field.
Yeah, I think Barreal, Coach Noonan said that quote unquote stamped. I don't know if that's an actual thing or not, but he's waiting. He was approved for a green card. He just needs to, I guess, get it in hand. So get that baby here in the next 3 weeks, and that gives us a lot of room.
Well, let's get a little bit into speculation. FC Cincinnati, they've been there before. They have moved up to first place in the allocation list. We have talked for years about FC Cincinnati because they frequently, due to their spot finishing in the season, have been first or second in the allocation list. We have yet to see any big moves come from this. I know it's a tradable asset if somebody wants it. I know there are players you can sign from it. I just real quick want to take a straw poll with the three of you. Do we actually use it this year in any form or fashion, or does it just sit there again?
I mean, we get something for it, whether it's a player or money. You don't have it so early in the year. Like last year, I think we got it this summer, late in the summer.
We would have it first every year, but there's always some new team that takes it from us.
Well, I think you could see in some of the photos that Toronto FC has released that Giovinco is in their camp, and they sit second in the allocation rating. Now, could we, in theory, pass on Giovinco? I would assume that there's a way where we might be able to get 50,000 in GAM or something to just flip flop 1 and 2. Throw. I think that was something that maybe Albright can finesse. That you might not have seen from Night Camp. I think you see something there, but I mean, there's definitely options out there. But
Miami signed Yedlin,
mm-hmm.
which is probably a really good move for them. They needed some serious improvements as well, and found a little bit of help there.
We've all seen Durkin's agent on Twitter talking about Jeff Birding. So,
I'm not sure if Durkin would be. I don't know if you pull the trigger just because he's a player of need. But looking at how he's performing over in the Jupiter League in Belgium, he played pretty well to start the season. He was on the starting 11 all the time. Now he's played out of form where he's getting only about 10, 15 minutes a game. He's not even on the starting lineup. It could be that if he feels he's not getting enough play there, maybe he does move back to MLS so he can get a starting role with the team.
Man, I think you're setting me up for this, aren't you, Jeff?
Just a little
You've
bit.
Seen me. You've
just
seen me on Twitter a little bit. I think if as a fan, I think I'd like to see Durkin. Why wouldn't you want to get a 21-year-old who's has talent, who's played in the league and has been in the national setups, thought of as a very decent professional player
and played with Lucho, right?
I think for a little bit. Yeah, he spent a lot of time in Richmond. He had I want to say maybe 30 games with DC. Don't quote me on that. Not a huge ton of time with DC, but he did spend a season or two with them. How much is he going to cost? And most importantly, 21. He's not Yedlin. Yedlin's his time's kind of with the national team's pretty much over after this cycle. Maybe he helps a little bit in the next qualifying, but his time's kind of passed. He's coming back because he's experienced the world. Durkin, man, are you really going to give up your European dream? Yes, you can maybe go back after a couple of years, but in my opinion, I mean, that's once you come back, there ain't no going back. I mean, it has happened, Josie and other people, but I mean, you really have to impress to see that happen. And I don't know if I really see him coming back. That's personal. I know a bunch of people are going to disagree with me on that.
Yep. Anytime you talk about a national team player of any kind, you will get disagreements. That's what I've learned on soccer Twitter.
If we can get him at a good rate and he wants to come back, he's willing to come back, and we think he's the fit, wonderful. You jump at that chance. If he was a Brazilian 21-year-old that had prospects, I think we'd be jumping out of our shorts to go get him.
Anyone else on the list you guys like as a possibility, or move on?
I guess Tom Bogert brought up a couple names today. I got to find them now. There are other options out there. I mean, you have Carlos Grayzo, who's I guess at Augsburg right now in Germany. Apparently, he hasn't been playing too much, but he played for Ecuador this international window. Great DM or defensive midfielder. I think he might be a DP possibly versus a Tam or Gam, but I think that's absolutely a target if he's willing to come back to Major League Soccer. But outside of that, we could make $300,000 in trading the pick to the right party. And that would be huge for whether that's 2022 GAM, 2023 GAM, or thank you Fly. Apparently you can trade like 2024 and 2025 GAM now. So there's options out there for
I would take
Albright to capitalize.
I'd take money all day long, especially for next year.
We got a chance to.
Next year to me is the year. I mean, I think this year FC Cincinnati approves, but next year to me is the year that we get to really see what Chris Albright does. And I know it sucks, like waiting a year for that, but like he gets to shed some of the night camp stuff, and maybe he chooses to keep some of those players on because that's ends up being a good idea. But that's all his decision, which is cool.
I'm going to ask you guys this question real quick. I think it's blatantly obvious, for all of us to see, whether it's transfer fees or salaries, we overpaid for players under night camp. Are you okay taking our lumps the first March, April, May of the season if we get the right player in June, July? I mean, this is a fan question versus, I always want to win, especially right now because we have like nobody in that midfield. But are you okay, that we haven't made a move if we're kind of looking, that makes sense financially?
I think we don't have a choice. I think
we do have a choice though. We could overpay. We could overpay for a 29-year-old or 30-year-old Brazilian or Argentinian that is the next Mokocho. We absolutely could have made that move.
Well, yeah, but I think we heard in today somebody asked the coaching staff, like, where's your midfielder? Where's your player? And they said that that they're waiting. They're taking their time. They're doing this right. So that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a choice because I think they are taking their time to set it up right. FC Cincinnati has rushed into decisions. We've tried to fill spots immediately. We've had GMs come try to make their mark, and it's failed every year. It's failed. So you got to do something differently. We can't just keep throwing the same thing at the wall.
I want to be pissed on Twitter. I want to be like, where the hell is our 6? I mean, really, we're 3 weeks away and we don't have two, what in my opinion would be 2 starter positions that we need filled. Am I wrong there, Jeff? Am I wrong there, Paul? But are you willing to sacrifice early results to get the right guy? I mean, of course, I think that everybody would say, yeah, because it's a dumb question. I'm terrible at asking questions. But in that hypothetical, I think that's kind of how we, as fans, we need to keep that perspective versus jumping off the Twitter sphere and demanding we get the next player in now.
I would rather be waiting for a 6 than be where I was somewhere around July last year, knowing we could not bring in anybody because we were maxed out and there was no hope.
Great point.
And I feel like if you fill a position too fast, we could all be there, knowing that there's no answer.
Jeff, you're looking like Einstein over here playing with your magnificent beard, your magnificent facial hair. I feel like you got a deep thought coming for us.
I don't.
He's sitting there trying to come up with something to match your comment.
I was hoping that I could look intelligent so you wouldn't ask me.
Well, how about I give you some fun news then? Apparently Josie Altador is heading to New England Revolution. So apparently I just hit the Twitterverse a couple of minutes ago.
It's probably the right spot for him because they probably want to look to deal Buxa, but that's another story altogether.
And Bruce Arena has a love affair with him.
I just, it's hard to say with the season coming up so quickly, and us having to rush to fill in a spot. I would rather stock up mid-season than I would beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I feel like we're rushing too fast into certain things. I feel that we're if we get somebody that he's not going to be in place right away and it's not going to be prepared to be in the starting 11. So I'm leaning more towards punting down to mid-season more than anything.
Clifford Adams, sorry, just to say, because we were on this point already, Clifford Adams said, I think I've mentally seeded the Austin game. It's effectively preseason for us. Clifford, I'm going to that game, and I think I agree with you there. To me, it is going to be a preseason game.
I just hope you're recording all this, Boston, for in 4 weeks when I make a dumb comment on Twitter. You're like, hey, dummy, look what you said 4 weeks ago. That's what you got to do. That's how you keep me in check.
No, I will. Don't worry. Any chance I have to call you out, I will take. Well, MLS next. Is it going to happen?
Yeah.
For us?
Yeah.
For us?
I don't know. You tell me, Mr. Insider.
Well, I reported that I had my doubts, and then we had a coaching name. I think we talked about this a little bit on the last podcast, but since that last podcast, even Laurel came out and said nothing set in stone, 100%. With that, so I don't know. I just think with the season coming that quickly, it would be a little bit more solidified. We would have at least some semblance of a roster. We would have some semblance of a schedule.
Didn't they release like or somebody dropped like a FC Cincinnati 2 logo somewhere?
I saw one, but I didn't know if it was real.
It was basically just a 2 in place of Gary the Lion.
Yeah,
which that's fine.
And to your point, Boston, I mean, this isn't a, and I apologize because I know this is going to sound like a shot at somebody. This is not a college USL Pro or USL 2, whatever it used to be, US PSL, PDL league. You know, it's not about just getting guys to play and, you know, for your 5 academy guys. And this is like a 35-man roster. You can have 24 professional players. You can have, I think, 10 or 11 amateurs. And those guys, you know, they're your essentially your developed players. You know, it's not about college players anymore. It's about getting those 14 to 19-year-olds time. I mean, there's literally restrictions in the amateur players that they can bring in. I mean, they have to be under 21 before the start of the season. No college experience. They cannot have suited up for a college team. No trialists. And basically somebody that you've developed. I mean, you have to have like a relationship with your MLS Next Academy or like a feeder academy. Now, I don't know if that means like King's Hammer and Cup, and we have those weird affiliations and things like that. But I mean, realistically, this is about bringing in more professional players into the setup and your amateurs. I mean, to me, if you have the ability to go out, you know, we had in camp 4 academy players. If we can go and make those guys professional players, let's go and do it. I mean, this is where MLS failed in the past, guys, where they couldn't sign Weston McKennie to professional deal. They couldn't sign all these different players to professional deals because they're limited. Now they can, and then maybe sell, you know, Steven Jimenez off for $20 million in 2 years.
Man.
I mean, we need to get this going so we can lock these guys in.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So stay tuned on that. We're interested in it. We've got a lot of interest in the academy, and since some of us are hoping we can do more coverage of that this year. So if we can get on top of it, we will for you guys. And so as soon as we know something, we'll put it out. I'm sure FC Cincinnati will update us as well. Anything else you have? We're hitting that 10 o'clock hour. I know we have a fundraiser coming up that we are a part of.
Oh boy, I got to get to the slide. Thank you, Norden. Yeah, we're going to be a part of the fundraiser that they're having for the West End St. Vincent de Paul charity. This is going to be at Grainworks on Saturday, February 19th. So it is a week after the Bengals Super Bowl victory. Yes, Jeff. We're going to have a live show. Actually, the event starts at 4, but we're going to have a live show beginning at 5:30 at Grainworks out in Liberty Township. Woo whoop. And following our show, I think at 7 o'clock, they're going to have Norden's own Bofus, I think, they're a band. They're going to be performing out there as well. So they're going to be releasing their scarves. They're going to be doing some fundraisers, some raffles. I think we're going to be donating some swag. And we're going to have a great show out there. I think FC Cincinnati's Gary, the Lion, is going to be there as well. So it should be a really great event out in the northern suburbs of Cincinnati, my turf. So I hope to see you guys there, and check it out on Norden's social media for more information.
I've heard some complaints in the past that CST needed to do live shows in a couple new spots. And so here you go. We're going north. We've never been up in that area. So if you are a northern Burbite and you said, what the heck, CST, you're always downtown, you're always on the east side, then we're here for you. And we're going north.
That area is pretty awesome, by the way, and it's a great brewery.
I've been to Grainworks. I went there when they released the Pride beer. I went to pick up. Actually, I have a 6-pack over there.
I think that God, it's killing me right now, the name of their beer, but I think they're going to have that at the stadium this year.
Helios Real?
I think they are. Yeah. Is it Hellas is real?
I think it's Hellas Real.
Hellas.
I don't know.
That's your Tennessee accent there, Boston.
Of course, we had him reading the product name.
Almost like a Louisville accent. Right,
I have the cans right there, and I don't even know how to say it.
Paul hasn't said a word in 20 minutes. You going to be there, Paul? You going to drive up for that show?
That would make 3 weekends in a row that I'm going north. I'm actually going up to Subs territory this weekend.
Ooh.
And then of course I'll be in Cincinnati for the Super Bowl. Wouldn't miss that. So that would be 3 weekends in a row. And I think the fiance would not appreciate that too much.
Oh, he's learning. He's learning. I love it. He's learning.
Do it for the love of the game. All right. Final thoughts?
Oh, sure. I guess I'll kick this off. Again, very excited to Norden for inviting us to be a part of that. Congrats to Jan DeMay for being the new head coach of LA Galaxy 2 Los Dos. I think they're going to be in USL Championship this year, and then maybe move to MLS next year. So congrats to Johan. I think we all wish him the best of luck and success in his future. So excited to do that. And on another note, our lives here at CST change. Brad's lives changing. Boston, we all do a lot of things. These two gentlemen below me are getting married. So if you want to be involved, maybe not on the show right now, but we definitely need a lot of writers. And if you want to be involved, we talked to somebody today about covering the academy. If you want to be a part of that, or you want to do X, Y, or Z with FC Cincinnati, the club, I think they're really turning a page, and really, I think there's going to be some opportunities there, and we'd love for you to be a part of continuing CST, because we need help if you want to do it, and we want to keep this thing going and experience what the Bengals fans are experiencing, right?
We've been trying to retire Bryan for 3 years. Come on, guys.
Yeah. This guy's full of crud. So yeah, you got to retire me, right?
Jeff, you got any final thoughts for us?
Well, one of the other things that we do at CST is we still cover a little bit of country along with the club. I mean, we still have 3 more games left in the final window of international play. US with a big, albeit cold, win last night. Don't know why you go to St. Paul to play Honduras when you beat them 6-0 in San Jose a few years ago. But regardless, they're I believe still in second place. Heading down to Mexico for the next big game in March, and then they've got a home game against Panama and away against Costa Rica. So Monterrita will be facing us there, maybe. Those are 3 teams that are not quite qualified, but definitely are pushing to get a spot. So we still have a lot to play for, but probably one more win and we look like we're in. But good job yesterday. And let's just keep this winning mentality going.
Good update. Should have played it in Cincinnati tonight. Hey, Paul, final thoughts?
My final thought is just reflecting back, looking at Twitter, the Pat Noonan video where he was mic'd up was a fantastic video by the FC Cincinnati, by that team. That's what made me fall in love with this club in the first place, was just the strong media presence, the ability to like get inside and see the inside view. So to listen to him and hopefully hear how he's, making it a better culture, just more enjoyable, rather than, tight doors. Just as a fan, I just want to be able to follow my club, support my club. Even when it's rough, having that accessibility means a lot, and it makes it a lot more interesting to follow. So I just really wanted to commend them on that, and I hope that's something that they plan on continuing to do in the future.
Yeah, I agree. It's something we hear about all the time. People ask us, why don't you guys go to Florida and do the interviews you did back in the USL days? Or why don't you have XYZ player on the show? I think we're headed a little bit more towards friendlier territory. FC Cincinnati is doing fun stuff with their own staff. It's opening back up a little bit. And I think some of that depends on who's in charge, who's your coaching staff, who's your GM, what their personal styles are, what they're friendly towards. And the new environment tends to be a little bit more fun, a little bit more friendly. And I think even if FC Cincinnati is a slower start, that stuff is you already see it. Fans enjoy that kind of content. They enjoy access. They enjoy feeling close to the team. And I know that all of our listeners appreciate that. And we will have some news for you shortly. Hopefully we get a little bit more like our old school CST selves that you guys fell in love with, and we'll bring that stuff back to you. I think that's it for us tonight. For Bryan, Jeff, Paul, and myself, thanks for tuning in live or on the podcast, and we will see you again shortly.
Hooday.